to be able to, so to be mature is to be able to be, God, it's so funny to be saying these words, but I think we can do a good job of allowing the words to be said and then expanding on them so that
Yep,
they're,
for sure, for sure. Let's trust each other on that.
so to be mature is to be able to stay in relationship with what is happening, with relationships, with experience, with life, while maintaining an open heart.
Right.
And so what I want to do is I want to open the notion of open heart so it's more
Right.
meaningful.
Right.
And of course, what that means is that you will have heartbreak.
Yep. Yep.
If you close your heart, one of the reason why you close your heart, the reason why you close down your willingness to experience things, is because you want to avoid heartbreak. You
Yep.
want to avoid
Yep.
the pain of grief.
Yes.
And hold on, let me see. Okay, so let me give it an example. You mentioned how does the adolescent return to his, in this case, parents.
Right.
And having kids is a big part of it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
I have an 18-year-old daughter, and she's just getting ready to graduate, so going off into that next stage of life. And I was just remembering that when I was that age, when I went away to college, my continuity of relationship with my own parents was very poor.
Right.
There was no internet. There was no Zoom calls. I drove home, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Right.
I
Right.
called home probably less.
Yep.
I almost never call anybody, so I never called home. And that continued. I graduated from college. I went to law school. I got married. I moved to another place. And so the number of times that I was in relationship with my parents from the moment that I graduated from high school was, fingers and toes.
Right. Right.
Small
Right.
number. And frankly, most of the time they had to take the effort.
Right. Right. Right.
And then I was just sitting there with my daughter, who, as a parent, I love the way a parent does,
Right.
the way that, sacrificing yourself on the altar of parenting
Yeah.
provides a level of connectedness to the sacredness of another human.
Yep. For
And I
sure.
was like, oh my God, like she has a lot of me, which is to say, she's very bad at maintaining contact.
Right.
If I
Right.
don't reach out to her, she rarely reaches out to me. And I just had this grief, heartbreak of imagining, years and decades going by and only like seeing her like these little flashes
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and the contact of who she is and who I am and our relationship fading. And that's heartbreak, right? But that heartbreak then creates an empathy going the other direction. I'm like empathizing with my own parents' experience of my being that. And then heartbreak again of being, oh my God, what a tragedy of my own failing, of
Right.
not being able to honor the the beauty of that relationship and the care and love that they give and want to give, and basically even just be able to know these people, these most singular people, to truly know who they are as an adult, right? Because of course,
Right.
your child relationship with the parent is X, whatever it is. An adolescent relationship with the parent is Y, different, not a whole lot better.
Yeah.
But the question is like, who are they really? Like, as you become capable of being
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
relationship with anybody, can you actually be in relationship with those people who are like you in deep sense, like you carry that lineage, like you
Yep.
carry
Yep.
the essence of their soul, and they're going to die, right? At which point
Yep.
the ability to do that goes away. Like just to feel the reality of that all the way down and to feel it from both sides, like feel your own, your own children, your own child, and the possibility of the separation of that, and then mirror it back up. The agony of that is very powerful.
Right.
And that's one thing that came up, was just that feeling.
You said, like, when I'm in this grief, what it does is it gives me an empathetic insight into my daughter forward, and it gives me an empathetic insight backwards to my parents. So
Mm-hmm.
this bi-directional insight, empathetic insight. And I was sort of juggling in my mind while also trying to keep in contact with you. Is like, well, what would be the analog? Like, are we like, as our God is dying, does that give us the capacity to like do like what are the like, there's like, do we more appropriately appreciate the ancestry that gave us that gift, and then
Mm.
do we do we try to see what in us is emerging, and what are we giving birth to, and how do so, because our identities stretch both ways, and it's like, how does this heartbreak, how does it connect me? How does it allow me to more compassionately understand my my spiritual ancestry? I'm struggling for terms here. And how does it help me to appropriately understand and afford my spiritual descendants? That what I thought that was a really great insight.
Yeah, I was seeing that notion of lineage in both directions, and in a
Yeah.
very great, like over vast timescales.
Yeah. Yes.
And what comes into the middle of that emerges out of it is something like care.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and something like responsibility, which I think are very closely related. And it's something like, you know, as you, to the degree to which to properly grieve the death of God, right? To the degree to which you enter into that grief honestly, and then of course you actually feel it.
Yes.
There is an opening into this empathic connection,
Right.
bidirectionally,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
which also opens up into oh yeah, wow. I'm pretty sure we're actually recapitulating some pretty, like, there's theology that has come here before. I remember seeing the image of the cross and what that means, but
Yeah.
of entering into proper care for that which lives and dies, right? That the proper care for the aspect of reality that we are part of, which is the aspect of reality that's precisely that which is finite in nature.
Right. Right.
And so the opening up into and allowing oneself to be empowered by the death of God,
Right.
perhaps, is the gateway to a true connection, an empathic connection that sources and like orients or guides the right relationship, the relationships of care, the relationships of responsibility, both for all that has come, in this
Right.
case, parent and back,
Yeah.
and in response to or in service of all that will come. And again, of course, you have now the child and the grandchild and go forward. It's really nice that it's not just theoretical. You've got the very practical. You got your actual parent and your actual child, and then you've got the notion of lineage.
Yes.
But you have that notion of, like, how do you sit in the middle of where you are, the moment that you're in right now. And now we're back to the notion of the sacred, right?
Yes.
To be able to enter into the relationships of care with the right orientation, the right discernment, and the notions of responsibility is how you are able to be in relationship with reality, with the world as sacred.
It sounds to me like you're saying something else. That ability through the death of God to come into the stereoscopic awareness of lineage and take up one's care of it is precisely the virtue of maturity.
Yes, that's
right?
precisely it.
That's precisely what the virtue of maturity is. And so, I mean, what's being afforded then is a way. I mean, we should be trying as much as we can then to deeply appreciate all of these transitions, because every time there's been a spiritual transition, the upper Paleolithic transition, the agrarian revolution, the axial age, people were going through the death of God and something else, right, was emerging.
Yeah.
There's a long history of these, and we can more appropriately, like, we could see our ancestry better, and then we can see we can maybe it would give us, maybe the aspect of looking forward is a bit of discernment. Can we look forward to the forward part of I'll call it the spiritual descendants. I hope that doesn't sound pretentious, right? But can we discern between what, right, is coming after us that is like us but is going to be beyond us, like the way your daughter is like you but beyond you, right? That we have that empathetic connection to. Can we discern a difference between that and the thing we were talking about earlier? People who are stuck, people who, right, cannot enter into that proper reverential care for the lineage that I think we're arguing constitutes spiritual maturity.